And the home of the brave. Just auditioning for next year's Home Run Derby. Hello. Welcome to the show. My name is Mark Farzetta. This is the Farzy Show, presented by MyBookie, mybookie.ag. Just lovely to have you along for the ride. Alec Bohm goes off in the Home Run Derby. Unfortunately, doesn't make it to the finals. Semifinals for Alec Bohm. Semifinals for Alec Bohm. Doesn't make it out of the semifinals. One home run shy of doing it. Of course, you had the jug of water from Bryce Harper. That was awesome. You know, people are like, it's pandering. It's pandering. Yeah, I love these pandering. I love it. He doesn't stop. If you don't stop pandering, is it still pandering? Isn't that just a way of life? Like, you just want to show us that we're on your mind? Like, you're thinking of Philadelphia? Your love affair with the Fanatic, bringing a jug of water to the the Home Run Derby there. That's pretty fantastic. I found myself last night before the Home Run Derby, and I knew it was going to be long, and I saw people complaining about how, or just saying they didn't like it. I'm not going to say complaining because I think they were right. It was too long. However, as I'm watching the show that is the Home Run Derby, first off, the one thing that I definitely hated, was the fact that it was a 8 o'clock start time, I believe, that didn't really start till 8:30. So it's really like a half hour of a pregame show before anybody gets into the batter's box. That's a little on the annoying side. Now, when they got into the batter's box, because they went in order of who has the fewest home runs, fewest to most. So Alec Bohm with only 11 home runs, he had more RBIs than most in that. He went off, obviously. So, but I found myself as I was watching it, and that's just the one thing that I definitely hated, that it was like a half-hour pregame show before things actually got started. But that's almost become status quo in today's day and age. So I'm watching everything play out, and everything's awesome for the most part. The intros were great. Marcelo Hernandez, is that his name, from Saturday Night Live? Anyway, I find him very funny, and I thought he was great. He introduced Alec Bohm with he loves hitting home runs and leave-in conditioner. I thought that was a funny line. And Bohm came out. That was it. And then they do the whole spiel. They're talking about Scooby-Doo again. Scooby-Doo's getting his due in the second straight All-Star game because you have Nick Castellanos going out there last year talking about how Scooby-Doo is his favorite superhero. And then Gunnar Henderson, he's got Scooby-Doo on his bat for the Orioles. So that was funny. And then Bohm steps into the batter's box, and that's when the real show began. And we'll, of course, talk about that on the show today. We'll talk about him going into the semifinals, of course. We'll talk about the jug of water. We'll talk about all the things that went into it. We'll talk about the national anthem, because that was something. Holy Stromboli. Now, I don't – of anyone who has legit tried to sing the national anthem. So I'll go ahead and take away Roseanne, for instance, many years ago. I'll take that one out. But for anyone who ever actually tried to sing the national anthem, so I'll include Carl Lewis in this, because he was trying to sing the national anthem. The young lady last night, who's a country singer that I had never heard of before last night, Ingrid Andres, I thought was terrible. I was waiting for the moment where it was like, this is some kind of horrible joke, right? It was like, speaking of Saturday Night Live, maybe because I was already in that mindset with Marcelo doing the intros, I was like, is this a sketch? This is like someone doing a sketch about someone who is singing a terrible national anthem. And I felt bad at first. And we'll play it for you. I felt bad at first, simply because she was trying to go out there and really nail it. And then I thought her voice cracked. And then I felt really terrible. For those that don't know, I'm a bit of a singer. Okay, I've sung in front of I think the most people I've ever sung in front of, not on the radio, not going back to Beat My Frank days. For those that know, if you know, you know. But maybe 1,000, 1,500 people, probably the most. And if your voice there's a little crack, you feel terrible for the performer. And I, in the first, whatever it was, 10 seconds, thought her voice cracked. I went, oh, God, no. Oh, my, oh, that sucks. And I was like, well, hopefully she'll nail the rest of this. She didn't. And then I realized I don't think her voice cracked. I think that's just one of the things she was trying to do with her voice, that little whatever. Ugh. Anyway, it was terrible. So we'll talk about it. We'll talk about the second half of the season. Of course, we'll talk about what this means, the home run derby. Alec Bohm doing so well in the derby. Literally just missing the finals by one home run, unfortunately. Had to go into a swing off. And then we'll also talk about some stuff going on right now with some of our basketball players and some stuff going on right now with our football players, because a couple of things happened in the football world yesterday centering around your Philadelphia Eagles. Number one, Nick Sirianni spoke. Now, Nick Sirianni spoke, and it was to a group of about 30 reporters. I didn't see where this was. I don't know if this was at the NovaCare complex or like some golf outing. All right. But he spoke to a group of reporters. I haven't seen any video of it. Now, for those that don't know, Nick Sirianni does have, I don't want to necessarily call it private because you're talking to reporters, but throughout the year, I believe it's once a week, he'll have a little fireside chat with a few of the beat reporters. John McMullen's one of them. And I don't know what the guidelines are of attending this. I think it's to help give you a better perspective of what the Eagles are trying to do away from the microphone. If it's their way of trying to control a message a little bit, I don't know. But either way, if you're a beat reporter, you want all the perspective you can get, so you're going to go to it. So I don't know what this little powwow was, but apparently it was about 30 beat reporters talking to Nick Sirianni, where he really went into a little bit more depth and allowed stories to be written about it and allowed quotes to be released from it. And Dave Spadaro of PhiladelphiaEagles.com wrote a great piece on it. And it was really one of the first times you heard about the struggle of Nick Sirianni and surrendering control of the offense. And it just has me going back down the line of what we've talked about a lot, which is the diminishing role of responsibility and the diminishing responsibilities of Nick Sirianni when it comes to this offense and really the football team in general. Now he used this phrase yesterday, the bird's eye view of it, no pun intended, that he can look down on everything from 10,000 feet and see what's going on. That's great. But not who the Eagles hired. Like, that's the thing I keep going back to here. And whenever I go back to the start and I start going through this maze, there's some pretty good stuff along the way. There's 3 playoff appearances there. There's a Super Bowl appearance. You've had a quarterback that has been in the MVP conversation over the last 2 seasons. He's been into that for what, 30 weeks over the last 2 years? He's been the best or second best in terms of MVP favorite. Oh, and a Super Bowl appearance to boot. Okay. That's pretty damn good. All that's happened under Nick Sirianni's time. You've had 2 of his coordinators get hired as head coaches in the NFL. That looks good on his resume. But as he has gone on here, yeah, the end results have like, oh, look, 3 straight playoff appearances. That's pretty good. Okay. But we all know how last year ended. We're not going to go back through. We're not going to go back over that, except for the effect it had, which was that you have to bring in another offensive coordinator. And you had to bring, like, both guys were one and done in their position. From going from, oh yeah, I got 2 guys on my staff that are both head coaches now, to, oh, neither of the guys that replaced those guys are still on the staff. One and done in that role last year. Not great. And all the while those guys are gone and new guys are brought in, you now, Nick Sirianni, have less power. But you have more time to have conversations with everybody. I know the term CEO head coach. I know a lot of you guys heard me say this before. The CEO head coach role. The CEO head coach role. All that is not Nick Sirianni. I don't look at Nick Sirianni and see CEO. If you have a CEO, you don't really see a diminishing role of responsibility like we have with Nick Sirianni. And he spoke to Dave Spadaro yesterday. We'll get into it. I'll read the quote to you. And it is telling. And it does talk about the struggle of surrendering that power. But again, it's more power he's letting go of. So we'll get to that. Also, Jalen Hurts, Jeremy Fowler, And I saw people alluding to this earlier in the day, and I didn't see the quote until our friend Ari sent it to me. Ari, what's up, buddy? Appreciate you sending me this. Of Jeremy Fowler talking about around the NFL, there are not many people believe that Jalen Hurts could be a top 5 quarterback. I am, look, to say I'm a fan of Jalen Hurts, I'm a Jalen Hurts believer. I think Jalen Hurts was really bad, especially towards the end of last year. One of the things that I have learned from the Carson Wentz debacle here in Philadelphia was that as a quarterback, you can never be part of the problem. And Jalen Hurts last year was part of the problem. But I have confidence because of his mindset, his mentality, his work ethic, that this year is not going to be a Carson Wentz year. All right. I have confidence that this is not going to be that kind of year where just everything falls apart. True colors are shown. And the next thing you know, they're begging for the Pittsburgh kid, Kenny Pickett, to be the starting quarterback. Like, I'm not doing that. I have a lot of faith that this is not going to go like that. And the reason is because of mindset, mentality, work ethic. It's different than what you have with Carson Wentz. Oh, also, your offense is stacked. And you have an experienced offensive play caller and all that stuff. But we'll get into that. But when it comes to just Jalen Hurts in his own right, how the hell, to go back to it, how do you say someone is never going to be something when they've already been? Like, right now, can you say Jalen Hurts is a top 5 quarterback in the NFL? No, you can't say that. You cannot say that after the way last year ended. But I can say that I am pretty damn confident he's going to work his way back into the top 5, especially when you're talking about 2 years, where the majority of both years he was a favorite to win the MVP, but he'll never be a top 5 quarterback. Really? It's like a year after the automobiles invented. There'll never be automobiles. Oh, really? That was my amazing. For the people on the podcast, yes, that was not an actual automobile. That was me doing an impression of an automobile. I know it was confusing. I apologize. So we'll get into all this on the show today. Some Team USA news and also Sixers Summer League. I feel like every Summer League game right now is, hey, Jared McCain shot a lot and then didn't score a lot. Ricky Council had an incredible reverse jam. Sixers lose by 2. Like, that's kind of how I feel every Summer League game has gone so far for the 76ers. Adem Bona, by the way, Adem Bona gets a nice little contract for himself. Not bad for a second rounder. That boy, that fella. Nice to see that. And Campaign. Cameron Payne goes to the New York Knicks. Would have loved to have seen him back here in Philadelphia. Damn it. Let's get into it, ladies and gentlemen. First, the home run derby. Show this to you again. Alec Bohm. What a night. What an incredible night. Now, I can't remember the exact amount of home runs, but I want to say it was about 1:30 into his, so maybe halfway through his first round, where he was just belting home runs left to right, 21. And I was expecting Alec Bohm to go out there and hit like 8 home runs. And he goes out there and he just lights it on fire. He was amazing. And he didn't really hit a stride yet. And I want to say it was around maybe 6 home runs when he finally called timeout. Then he goes over to the sidelines there. He goes over to the foul territory and he sees Bryce Harper and Trey Turner. And for those that didn't see it, here's just the video of it. See it right there. Bryce Harper with the water jug. Now, the only way I can really describe this is maybe a bootleg of gin, like a jug of that. Or if you're, like me and family reunion, a little Carlo Rossi jug of wine, right? A little Carlo Rossi Chianti. You know what I'm saying? It was like that kind of jug, emptied, obviously, and it's just a big white tape on it that says Wooder, Wooder, Wooder. Now, what I find funny about this also is that Buster Olney had to go over to Bryce Harper and be like, "What's Wooder?" And I'm like, "Really, Buster? In all your travels, And Bryce Harper responded by going, oh, that's just Philly, man. And it is Philly. And I loved it. And I don't care if it's Philly Fanatic socks, Philly Fanatic sliding mitts. I don't care if it's Philly Fanatic spikes. I don't care. Pander to me. Pander, 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 pander. Pander, pander. Nick Sirianni wants to wear a Phillies hat at his press conference. Pander. Nick Sirianni wants to wear a Sixers shirt. Pander, 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 pander. Pander wants to wear Philadelphia Union. Pander to me, please. I love it. City gets represented a little bit more. Get a little colloquialism thrown into the mix. Yeah, I'm all for it. But then in the final, I want to say 90 seconds, after just chugging the performance-enhancing drug known as water, Alec Bohm steps back into the batter's box and goes from 6 home runs to 21 in the final 90. What? And what I absolutely loved about this was as other guys were going, they're getting the shot of Alec Bohm, the leader in the clubhouse there, becoming a finalist because they took the 4 top guys and they made it to the semifinals. And then from that, they got the champion, right? So I'm watching all that and I'm like, this is incredible. This is amazing. This is awesome. And Alec Bohm's there on the sideline going, yep, me in the lead. And he literally says, they catch him on camera going, yep, me in the lead, just like everybody thought. Not so much. But he was incredible. He was absolutely incredible. And that was so much fun. So he makes it into the semifinals. He goes against Teoscar of the Dodgers, who was just in town. Teoscar Hernandez. And he goes out there and he hits, I believe it was 14 home runs. And Bohm is struggling to get to 14. And then he finally gets 14. And then he gets into the bonus time. And he just can't get that one more home run. And the final home run he hit, or excuse me, the final ball that he hit for the final out of his bonus time was 5 feet shy, 10 at most. He hit it to deep left center field in Texas, in Arlington. Deep left center field. And just missed it for what would have put him into the finals. But instead, they had a swing off. And Teoscar hit 2, Bohm hit 1. It was basically you get 3 swings. I thought it was kind of cool. It was a good way to end it quickly. And Teoscar hits 2, he hits 1, and that was that, unfortunately, for Alec Bohm. But what a show. What a fun show. The only thing I would do differently with the home run derby, the only thing I would do differently is, 1, never have her as an anthem singer again. Then 2 is maybe not as many contestants. Because it really, like, Alec Bohm got done in the first round, and then it was like an hour and 15 minutes before he hit again. Like, they showed him in the batting cage in the bowels of the stadium with a back brace on, trying to stay loose. I was like, oh yeah, man, you got to stay loose for this. Yeah, don't get hurt. But he was great. That was a lot of fun. I enjoyed a lot of it. And every time I caught myself going like, oh, that's too much. Like, oh, come on, baseball. Come on, Major League Baseball. You don't need to do this. You don't need to do that. I was like, I enjoyed it. I really liked it. Like, for instance, Michael Buffer coming out to introduce the finalists of Teoscar and Bobby Witt Jr. I was like, oh, wait, I was like, this is too much. No, I love Michael Buffer. I know it's not just because he's a Philly guy, or a Philly area guy. I was like, this is great. This is awesome. Yeah, hype me up even more. And the crowd seemed to really be into it last night. So I really, really enjoyed that. I thought that was great. So now the general news that I know a lot of people are getting into. If you haven't heard it, here is the full rendition of the Star Spangled Banner last night, sung by Ingrid Andress in the home run derby last night. You make the call.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed by the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight or the ramparts we watch were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave.
All right. You heard it. There it is. Your thoughts. They got a shot of Alec Bohm during the national anthem, and he definitely had a smirk on his face. Now, I'm going to give Alec Bohm the benefit of the doubt and say that he was taking it all in. He's looking around at packed stadium. He's getting excited for his first All-Star appearance and his first home run derby appearance as well. He's having himself a great time. He's just looking around, smiling. But conventional wisdom tells me that he couldn't believe what the hell he was hearing. I know it takes guts for someone to go up there and sing the national anthem live on television in front of a packed house in a baseball stadium, 45,000, whatever, however many people were there yesterday. I get that and credit that, but she's a professional performer. And I've never heard of her before yesterday. And I hope she has a wonderful career. I'm sure that her Instagram and her social media will skyrocket after this. If a young lady could talk about a little thing called Hawk Tuah and just go insanely viral, then I'm sure this lady who just sings will go even more viral. She's already gone viral. And I'm sure it will only help her profile. And I wouldn't be surprised if, like, at her next concert, she belts out the national anthem. It's for all you haters. You know what I'm saying? But it was pretty terrible. Do you know what I'm saying? Do you understand what I'm saying about thinking her voice was cracking and then feeling bad for her? And then she like trailed off a little bit on words. I was like, did she just forget a word or two there? Did she just make up? Did she just freestyle the national anthem? Hey, it's a free country. I'm going to freestyle the anthem. All right. I like it. So there, now you've heard it. In case you didn't hear it already, there it is for you, wrapped up in a bow. MLB All-Star games tonight. There in Texas. Phillies had the picture yesterday. Well, they all had the picture yesterday. 6 of the Phillies are on hand. Zach Wheeler, Ranger Suarez. I didn't see in the picture. Not making the trip, apparently. I didn't see whether or not Mason Miller was a little extra chummy with Jeff Hoffman or Matt Strahm. I was looking for it, but of all the footage I saw, I didn't unfortunately see any of that. But maybe it's just a matter of time. Let's get to your Philadelphia Eagles and what's going on with this, because this is bonkers. I'll get to Jalen Hurts, but I want to make sure I get to this Nick Sirianni stuff. So I'm seeing Nick Sirianni spoke, and I'm seeing quotes. And the first thing I do is I want to see the video because I didn't know he was speaking. I mean, you have about a week before training camp, and I know Nick Sirianni was usually keeping a low pro. He's usually kept a low profile, and usually when they break mini camp, you don't hear from anybody. Maybe they go out to that golf outing in Tahoe. And I remember talking to Doug Peterson a few times when he was out there. Jason Kelsey, of course, participating. He's saying a lot, but obviously no longer with the team. So I'm really curious as to where this was coming from. So Dave Zangaro of PhiladelphiaEagles.com highlights it as Nick Sirianni speaking to a group of about 30 Eagles reporters. And he was asked about going into a season where he does not have control over the offense. And here's what Nick Sirianni had to say. And again, this is not an exclusive. This was about 30 reporters. I think at the end of the day, you always have to do what you feel is best for the team, right? And I think that selflessness, right, regardless of how much I love something, it's what's best for the team. And in this case, what was best for the team is that, I brought Kellen in and I let him run with the offense. We share some thoughts and he goes with it. And so that's what I felt was the best for the team. I felt that Shane Steichen on play calling in 2021 was best for the team, right? I felt that switching coordinators last year was best for the team. I felt that there's a lot of decisions I have to make, and I have to listen to a lot of different input, right? I do listen a lot differently, meaning now in the position that he's in. I want to be collaborative because I don't have all the answers. And I have really good people around me, and I got great players around me, and I want to listen. He goes on. Well, first let me break this down. I have a lot of really good people around me. I got great players around me, and I want to listen. I do listen a lot differently. I want to be collaborative. I know that a popular opinion in this might be the idea that Nick Sirianni goes up to Kellen Moore and he's like, hey, maybe we do this. And Kellen Moore's like, yeah, okay. Yeah, sure, boss. And then goes over and does whatever the hell he wants anyway. But I know that the Eagles have had the highest level of success 2 years after something extremely unconventional, which is winning a Super Bowl after they fired Chip Kelly. And then Howie Roseman rebuilds the team. 2 years later, they're in the Super Bowl and they win it with perhaps the deepest roster in the history of any Super Bowl champion. This is also highly unconventional, especially when you fired that head coach. That won you that Super Bowl in Doug Peterson for very similar reasons that you probably were contemplating firing Nick Sirianni. You're going to have less power. We're choosing your coaching staff. And one thing I just really don't believe, I don't believe at all, is that he hired Kellen Moore. And I always find it interesting that every single time he talks about Kellen Moore or relinquishing responsibility and play calling, he talks about, I brought in Kellen. I brought in Kellen. I do not believe for a second it was his hire. I don't believe for a second it was his idea. I do give him credit, though, for at least having the ability to read a room and maybe went into his end of the year conversation with Jeffrey Lurie like, hey, here's some ideas I have, realizing I'm about to get fired. I better. What if I did less? But I'm still the head coach. But I did less. And we have, we go from the exact opposite of what we did last year, which was like no one has experience. Nobody has experience. Stay with me. And we bring in people that have a lot of experience, and I do less. Looks like Vic Fangio is going to be available. I know you guys have been kicking the tires there. We'll get that done. Good. Cool. All right, fine. Kellen Moore. We can get Kellen Moore to run the offense. Maybe he was on the list that Nick Sirianni presented. I assume there was a list to Jeffrey Lurie saying, hey, these are the guys that I wouldn't mind seeing come in here. Cliff Kingsbury, I wouldn't mind seeing him come in here. Kellen Moore, I wouldn't mind seeing him come in here. Okay. Frank Reich, but I'm sure he just wants to take some time off, right? I think that's how it went down. So sure, you could maybe, with some honesty, claim that you brought in Kellen, but I think you were doing that not necessarily by your own free will. So I go back to the idea that the Eagles did the most unconventional thing, which is tell their general manager, the guy that had final say over the roster and all that, and Howie Roseman, and said, all right, you step aside. This Chip Kelly guy in the final year of his deal is going to have all the power. You go to the broom closet. Then they fire Chip Kelly, and then Howie Roseman wins you a Super Bowl 2 years later. Pretty amazing. Pretty amazing. So now they hired this coach, Nick Sirianni, and all 3 years he's been the head coach of the team. He's gone to the playoffs. He's been to a Super Bowl in those 3 years. That is pretty awesome. But then seeing the way last year went without the coordinators that are head coaches, you think you can revive all this with 2 new coordinators? And I mean, if I'm just judging this by what I'm looking at, I still think the Eagles are going to have a pretty good year. And less of Nick Sirianni seems pretty damn good to me. And the term soft firing comes to mind when it comes to Nick Sirianni. If all he has to be is positive message guy and talent and strategy is executed well by these by these players on this team, offense and defense, then you should have a pretty damn good season. So I look at this and I go, this is insanely unconventional. Like, it's not just coming in here to be the CEO type coach, or as I like to put it, the regional manager head coach that Nick Sirianni is, assistant to the regional manager head coach that Nick Sirianni is now. It's not normal to see that. Like, if John Harbaugh, if Dan Campbell, if these guys took over their teams, granted at much different times, and then they had a diminishing role of responsibility, I don't think those fan bases would have confidence in those guys. So I'm supposed to have confidence in Nick Sirianni. The answer to that question is not really. Not really. The rebuttal to it, rather, is not really. You're supposed to have confidence in the people around him because he's backing off. That chef is backing off. There's too much burnt toast, I guess. And you're having other guys step up there to help make you the good French toast, I guess. And that's what you're getting from Kellen Moore. That's what you're going to get from Vic Fangio. And you're going to get Nick Sirianni being the homeroom representative. He's going to be the homeroom dad. That's what it sounds like. He goes on in the quote and says, I won't lie. I won't lie to you that the idea was hard, but I knew with my gut that was best for the team, and I see a lot of positives from it. So do I. Less involvement in a stale game plan, for one. But anyway, it says a lot of positives from it. I'm able to see things from a 30,000-foot view. That doesn't mean I don't have opinions on what this should look like. You do what's best for the team because you love the team, not because you love your selfish reasons of what you want. And I really feel good about that. And I feel, like I said, I feel good in the direction we're going. If you wanted, and I said this at the time, and it's reminding me of it now, a week removed from just players showing up at training camp. If you wanted this team to have less influence from Nick Sirianni, you got it. He's going to be an idea man and a sounding board. And is it unconventional? Yeah, it's extremely unconventional. What worries me about it more than anything is that he, I think, is really a buffer between the management, ownership, and the coaching staff, as opposed to being an authority. Like, as opposed to being an authority figure. Like, you want to look at your head coach and always think he has the answers. Always think that he's got his fingerprints on guys that were drafted, his fingerprints on the strategy, how you're winning, how you're motivated. And I really feel like he doesn't have any of that right now. I feel like his job right now as the head coach, his role as the head coach of this football team is to be that buffer. Like, Kellen Moore isn't going to overrule his head coach to his general manager. Like, no coordinator is going to do that. Maybe Vic Fangio because of all the experience. But Kellen Moore's not going to leapfrog over the head coach to get to management. Like, that ain't going to happen. So the overall thing that really concerns me is that you get caught in this vicious cycle of just constantly having to give new coordinators. Because if the Eagles do have a great year, first off, great, they had a great year. But then are you going to fire Nick Sirianni and then hire Kellen Moore? Because I don't know of any example of you have a great year and then you fire the head coach and then you hire the offensive coordinator. That seems to only happen in a case like the Raiders where they're having a terrible year. They hired Antonio Pierce as the interim, and now he's the head coach. That's the only way it happens. Things have to go really bad first. And yeah, I would think that Nick Sirianni is on a rather short leash going into this season. And yeah, I would assume that Kellen Moore would be next in line to be the interim head coach before he takes over the head coaching role. But I don't want to root for that because that means I'm rooting for a terrible start to the season. I want to root for the Eagles winning a Super Bowl. And I want to root for the idea of Kellen Moore sticking around a while. In the event that they actually do the things I think they're going to do this year, which is be a pretty damn good football team when you really break it down and you really think about it. So that's one thing I had to wanted to give you guys about the Eagles. The other thing is, and again, shout out to our man Ari for sending this to me because I had seen people alluding to this, and then I didn't see that Jeremy Fowler actually put it out there, but it was pretty interesting. According to NFL circles, from what Jeremy Fowler had to say, they do not look at Jalen Hurts as someone who is going to be a top 5 quarterback in the NFL. I really just hate things that get said for attention. And I know that there's a lot of the piping hot takes out there that just are meant to stir the pot. And I know we're getting closer and closer to training camp, and people at this point have just stretched everything out to get attention back towards the NFL because NFL is what pays the bills for sports talk in general. This is just stupid. I don't understand how anyone can have the opinion that Jalen Hurts will never, quote, never be a top 5 quarterback when he's already been a top 5 quarterback. He's already been a top quarterback in the NFC. He's already been a top quarterback in the NFL. And he's done that over the last 2 years for the vast majority of those seasons. So now all of a sudden, after, yes, a historic, awful, ugly collapse last year, nobody's denying that, and Jalen Hurts had a huge role in that. And you know, the games I go back to constantly. I go back to the Commanders games. I go back to the Seattle Seahawks game. Just dumb, stupid plays and decisions made by Jalen Hurts in particular in those games. Man, oh man. Especially at the end of the season, just couldn't get anything going. And the game that really sticks out is on repeat on my brain is the Seattle Seahawks game, of course. But you can't deny that he was playing terrible. And yes, the whole team was playing terrible. But you can't be part of the problem if you're a quarterback. You got to be part of the solution. You got to be the guy that is taking that step forward, looking around going, I know we're making a lot of dumb decisions here. I'm going to be the guy that helps us rise above that. And Jalen Hurts was not that guy last year. This year, with these weapons, that experienced play caller and Kellen Moore, I'm expecting a hell of a lot better season than what we saw at the end of last year. I'm expecting another, for the majority of the year, MVP conversation centering around Jalen Hurts. That's what I'm expecting in the upcoming season. There's no excuses. And if I had one theme for the year, like I don't remember this too much in football. Baseball, they seem to always have a theme in spring training, right? I remember in college, Temple would always have a theme for their football team, right? I remember Bobby Wallace, on a mission. I remember that my freshman year. Bobby Wallace, on a mission, right? What's the theme for Jalen Hurts this year? What's the theme for the Eagles and this offense this year? No excuses. The one thing that I look at this year that I'm not even going to say is an excuse because it's not. No excuses. But the one legit thing I look at and go, not so sure about this. It's not 1 year of Kellen Moore and Jalen Hurts. It's not that. It's the relationship between the starting center of his football team and the starting quarterback of this football team, because them two guys don't have experience together in the positions that they're in now. You're going from, if you're Jalen Hurts, you're coming in as a rookie. You're coming in as a first-year, second-year starter, whatever it is, right? You're coming in there, and you have Jason Kelce helping lead the way for you. You got to feel pretty good about that. And now it's changed. You're the franchise guy. And you have a guy who's going to be, as far as the position of center goes in the NFL, a rookie in that spot. Yeah, he worked next to Jason Kelce. That's all good, great, grand, and all that's wonderful. Everything else, you don't have the experience. You haven't seen it. And I'd like for him to have seen it and get out there and do it. And you're not going to know it until you see it in training camp. You're not going to see it, or you're not going to know it until you get into Brazil for how it really goes, because I very much doubt that Jalen Hurts is going to have a lot of experience in the preseason, if any. They might play him a little bit because it's Kellen Moore, and they just want to get that communication down. But I doubt it. I doubt it. Let me tell you about the great people, ladies and gentlemen, and MyBookie, mybookie.ag. Download the MyBookie app, create an account, use promo code Farzy, and get up to $1,000 redeemable cash bonus at MyBookie, mybookie.ag. Want to bet on the world of baseball, second half of the season? You could do it. Want to bet on the All-Star game? You could do it. WNBA? You could do it. Preseason football around the corner? MyBookie, mybookie.ag. You can also bet on the world of politics. You can also bet on television on MyBookie, mybookie.ag. Your favorite shows? Who ends up with who? How does it end? All at MyBookie, mybookie.ag. How about the Game Time app? Download the Game Time app, create an account, use promo code Farzy, and get $20 off your first ticket purchase at the Game Time app. That's right. The Game Time app's where it's at. Download the Game Time app and use promo code Farzy for $20 off your first purchase. Also, you want to go to a concert? You want to go to a comedy show? Maybe you want to see Ingrid Andres in concert. You can do that with the Game Time app. They also have last-minute ticket deals, flash ticket deals, even ticket deals for an hour after the event starts. So if you do go to a show, comedy, concert, whatever it is, you want to see the headliner at a discount price, you can do that with with the Game Time app. Download the Game Time app to your phone, create an account, use promo code Farzy, get $20 off your first purchase. How about PHL Sports Station, Philadelphia Sports Station, enhancing your Philadelphia sports fan experience across all social media and blogs. That's PHLSportsStation.com. Let's get into the chat check and see how wonderful people are doing on this fine. Oh, wait, one more thing. Team USA, a little bit of they didn't have a hiccup. They won. They beat the Aussies yesterday. Joel Embiid played well. Steve Kerr was asked about fluidity with the Biggs and said Joel Embiid's finding his way, basically. It takes a little while for Biggs to find the flow, find the rhythm. And he's going to be trying different lineups. Joel Embiid come off the bench? What? MVP? Joel Embiid coming off the bench for Team USA? 2 weeks away from Patty. Sounded interesting, Steve Kerr. We're going to try some new lineups. Oh, interesting. Interesting. Let's get into the chat check now. Let's see what's going on. Louis, I'm going to say Louis Bafano, what's going on? MLB needs to reduce the drug testing. Baseball has returned to Bonds McGuire era, and no one wants to face it. Trying to think, it's like everybody, like 20 home runs used to be a crowning achievement, and now it's like I think like 150 guys had 20 home runs last year, something insane like that. Yeah, it feels like everyone gets 20 home runs. Bomer got robbed. It looked like he stopped chugging the holy water there, buddy Christ. Oh, man. Dynasty 215, the Mo Cheeks girl in Portland. That was such a great moment because of Mo Cheeks, but she just flat out, I mean, yeah, and obviously she was trying to sing the national anthem. That's great. That's funny that nobody talks about that. That's a great point. And I don't mean like, oh, she was terrible. Good for her. No, I mean like people focus on Mo in that scenario because he came in and he was like, oh, no, come on, we're going to get through this. That was beautiful. That was such a great moment. That was such a great moment. Good morning, IBH. What's going on? Buddy Christ, happy Tuesday, everyone. Have a great day. Sean Kilrain, good morning. Sean Kilrain, when Bohm took that timeout and had that special water Farzy, it was on. It was great. You had him at 12 home runs, like for the whole thing? That's crazy. Mike Fuji, what's going on? Good morning. Good morning, folks. Happy Tuesday. Happy Tuesday. Sean Gillespie, what's going on? Good morning. Sean Kilrain, what the hell? Fergie 2.0, in my opinion. Fergie's pretty damn close. Carl Lewis was still trying to get through it. Like, if you're the thing that made Carl Lewis so bad, and I still think the champion of worst, was that he knew how terrible he was. Like, Fergie was still trying to pull it out with some confidence, if I remember correctly. And this girl last night was more of like, no, I'm killing it. Carl Lewis is like, no, this is terrible, but I'm going to get through it. Needed that moonshine jug of water for that rendition, right? Thank you, T-Bro. That was a baseball executive skit. Sean Gillespie, Chiriani drove Kellen Moore to Philadelphia, so technically he did bring him here. That's true. April, what's going on, April? Jason, morning, y'all. Oh, Mike Fuji, Fredo Sirianni. The deputy director, laugh out loud. Fredo Sirianni, that's great. I know you said that before, but that's just great. I don't know if there's a bigger dig in the Italian-American community than, yeah, Fredo? You don't want to be Fredo. I'm smart. Regional manager Nikki Kotite, says Jason A. Mike Fuji, Kellen Moore, interim coach of this team, stumbles out of the gate. If the interim coach of this team, if they stumble out of the gate, I think you mean. Yeah, I agree. That's exactly how it's going to go down, unfortunately. I don't like it, but that's how it's going to go down. Hey, pay attention to the All-Star game tonight. Phillies are going to be cooking. Can't wait for it. 8 o'clock start time on Fox. I'm looking forward to it. I know you're looking forward to it. We're all looking forward to it. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. This is the Farzy Show presented by MyBookie, mybookie.ag. Hey, bonus me today. 7:45 will be on Fox 29. So I'll head over there now. Have a great rest of your day, everybody. My name is Mark Farzy. This is the Farzy Show. Make sure you hit like and subscribe on the Farzy Show YouTube channel. Make sure you hit like and subscribe on the Jacob Media YouTube channel. And when the Phillies get back to it after the All-Star break, Locked On Sports Philadelphia and your Locked On Phillies postcast. Make sure you check it all out. Locked On Sports Philadelphia. Like and subscribe. See you guys later. Have a great rest of your day. Bye.